I'm just going to make sure that we're streaming okay. So
For what?
I'm just going to make sure we're streaming okay.
Oh,
It says we are, but I don't always believe them. Okay, and
so is this playing on TV or is this just you have to stream it?
it's being streamed and it's being recorded onto these hard drives and onto the coaches.
Oh.
There is a red Honda in the parking lot and it's got its lights on, license plate ZVS612. So you want to go turn your lights off?
So, good morning and welcome to Twin Elm Rugby Park in Ottawa, just south of Ottawa, if we're being geographically technical. Doug Cross bringing you all the final day action here with our camera person extraordinaire, Justine. This NWL action brought to you by DHL, Gowlings, the Government of Canada, Under Armour, CN, Enterprise Canada, Marsh Insurance, and Merit Travel. Taking a look at the lineup for the Atlantic, it's Lisa McGrath, Megan Kinsman, and Mary Giles in the front row, Abby Goodwin and Caitlin Blanchard in the second row. The back row made up of Jory Rose and Tanisha Campbell, and Steph Gillis is the number 8. In the halfback pairing, we have Mandy Wells as the scrum half. The fly half is Kate Parkinson, and then Amanda Jardine on one wing, Shelby Vining on the other wing, Andrea Cantwell in the centers working with Isabel Dilger, and the fullback is Erin Beasley. And here's a look at your replacements. So Quebec, no chance to win the championship today. As we look at their lineup, they are going to finish no better than second place because of the points differential. We'll get into that in a bit. But in the front row is Samantha Yost, Allison McCormick, Audrey Marcotte, and then in the second row, Jennifer Huntley and Camille Provencal-Aubé. Back row made up of Rebecca McKean, Megan Copeland-Dinnan, and Kathleen Keller's the number 8. The halfback pairing sees Erin Benzikian. She's been the captain. Jackie Titley, the fly half. In the centers, Anita Martinego and Fabiola Fortiza. She's got 5 tries in this tournament, player to watch. Anna McBride on one wing and Erin Van Gulik on the other. Irene Petrinos is the fullback. And here are the replacements that will come in later in the game. So Atlantic doing a good job to come together on short notice and provide some great competition. I think they've probably, if they're being honest, they're disappointed at times with how the games have gone. Les Gilson coaching this team, bringing girls from a number of different provinces together in a short amount of time. Never an easy job, especially when you've got other provinces that have got a lot tighter geographic confines and it's easier to get together for training. And Quebec, the reigning NWL champs, well, they will not two-peat despite being undefeated. They missed getting a bonus point against British Columbia as we see them running onto the field. And so the disappointment's palpable for them. Opportunity lost in that game against British Columbia because they got bonus point victories in the other games, but Ontario just running along with it, going 3-1, and just getting all those big points up. Or they're 3-0, with 15 points. So we're just going through the opening ceremonies. So the replacements for Quebec urging their friends on, their teammates. And perfect conditions here at Twin Elm. Early start. That's always got to be tough for teams who've been playing. They've had 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock kickoffs all week. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, guess what? You're up for the 9:30 kickoff. Well, you back that off for breakfast and getting ready and everything. You're getting up pretty early on a Sunday morning. But I think everyone's shaking out the cobwebs. And if they haven't, first tackles will do that for them nicely. Already about 21, 22 Celsius. The fog burned off. It was looking like the English moors out here when you first got here. But Richmond always a very pretty backdrop for the rugby. Here's Andrew McMaster will run this game. Top quality referee in Canada. Quebec playing in light blue, playing from right to left, will be kicking to Atlantic, wearing the black and playing left to right on your screen. That's a nice kickoff, immediate pressure from Quebec, but clean take by Atlantic on that side. Ball getting picked up by the scrum half Wells. And now a bit of a half break brought down by Cantwell's brought down by Quebec, and immediately a penalty against Quebec. Offside. McGrath. We've watched her run through people all week long. She gets about 7 meters, feeds that ball back. Wells, a one-hander off of Kate Parkinson, and now it will be a scrum to Quebec. So everyone getting the yips out in the first couple of minutes. First touches the ball, tentative and whatnot, and then you get that first contact out of the way. Rugby's that kind of sport, nothing worse than getting into the 10-minute mark and you haven't been tackled yet, and then you get walloped. That'll wake you up in a hurry. So if you can get that contact early in the first couple of minutes, that I think gets you more ready for the competition. So wheeled scrum. Atlantic winning a mini battle there. So they'll get to put in. The Quebec team good at cheering their team on. Allez le bleu, allez le bleu. So good culture on that team. Our girl Justine bringing you the pictures, doing a great job. Says she's never done it before. I think she's been lying openly to me. She's very good at it. Now a kick through by the blind side on that side, Jory Rose. But instead we'll come back for the penalty, which is good news for Atlantic. But Jory Rose needs to bring the ball back, so they're racing back. And, I don't think they should be thinking quick ball at this point. Lots of time left in this game. Just 4 minutes gone in the first half here. And that is a nice touch finder. Gets Atlantic down into Quebec's zone. And wouldn't that be a great way for this Atlantic team to end this tournament, getting a win after going 0-3 so far. Oh, and an early lift. McMaster will have a word with the Quebec lifters, and he wants to see the gap widened. First lineouts. Always need to establish what the referee's looking for. McCormick just holding off on the throw. It's actually Kinsman, sorry. Stolen ball by Quebec. What can they do with it? I think they'll be happy to just get possession and kick it down the field. Maybe a counterattack opportunity here for Atlantic. No, touch is on the mind of fly half Jackie Titley. So it'll be Kinsman with the throw-in. More on target now. Wells gets a clean pass out to Parkinson. Now McGrath, extra attacker into the line. She's done her job well. Flinging it right now. Oh, and it goes off the hands of the front row, but picked up by the fullback, Aaron Beasley. Quebec hands trying to pinch that. Stays Atlantic side. Parkinson. McGrath gets it on her hip. She goes to ground. So good movement side to side by Atlantic, but they are not breaching the Quebec D. 22-meter line is acting more like a try line for Quebec. They do not want Atlantic getting across it. So multiple phases. Now Kinsman, the hooker. She's done well. Offloads to the back row. Tanisha Campbell, who scored a few tries. Wells got it now, the scrum half. Someone will have to step in and fulfill her role at the breakdown. Pick and drive will give her some time, and they're at the try line. I think they need to get Lisa McGrath coming in on the angle and just slam through there. Parkinson off the fingertips. That goes to ground. Went back, says McMaster. It's Quebec ball now. Keep Quebec, but a penalty. So now, are you taking the quick ball if you're Atlantic? I think you're this close, you just might early in the game rather than take the three-pointer. Oh, and Campbell just leveled in an open field tackle. Spilled ball as a result, went back. McMaster allowing play to continue, and that has gone into touch. Some people calling for the knock-on, but he judged it to have gone back. So net effect is that Atlantic doing very well in the early going of this game. They are parking down in the Quebec end and not giving up. Overthrow, but it stays Atlantic side, but won't be straight. So McMaster asking, keep Quebec, what do you want to do? And they'll take the scrum in 15. No, they're opting for the line-out. They like their line-out platform better than their scrum. Interesting choice. Allison McCormack throwing in for Keep Quebec. Hits her target, and Jennifer Huntley. Atlantic has stolen that ball. Advantage coming. Knock on by Quebec, so they've got a free ball here. Why not give it a go, see if they can break the gain line? And they have now. Advantage will be over with that run from Anita Martinego. Sorry, that's the Quebec player. That's Andrea Cantwell. And now, nice run in there by Caitlin Blanchard. Quick hands down the line. Have they got the extra attacker? No, it's going to be the fullback scoring the try. She's at the line. And try given to Erin Beasley. Erin Beasley scoring first points in this game, and that's got to be a bit of a shocker to Quebec. So Quebec is going to try and recap here and regroup and figure out what's going on. We're supposed to be the defending champions here, and we're down 5-0 to this upstart Atlantic team. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? So great job by the fullback Beasley. She has got some pace, and she came into the line and went around the corner and just saw one person to beat, had the angle, had the speed, and finished it the way she knew she could. So the conversion's missed, but the good news is Atlantic is up 5-0 in this game. So Quebec, hoping to at least finish second, had better get themselves organized here and right the ship here. Titley will restart this for Quebec. Oh, she switches it up. Looks like she was going to kick to her left, but she kicks to her right, doesn't kick at 10 meters, so another mistake by Quebec. So they've got a few nerves here. Now, Quebec's had a bit of a rest. They didn't play. They played the first 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they had Friday off and didn't play yesterday. So they've had a good 2-day break, and Atlantic has just been grinding it out. So maybe all the extra rugby that Atlantic has been playing up to this point may be helping them a bit. So instructions being yelled in from the sideline for the Quebec team as Wells gets this ball in. And now the pickup by number 8, Steph Gillis. Advantage being played to Atlantic. Quebec not staying bound in. Atlantic good at taking advantage of advantage, and they have crossed the gain line, but now the knock-on, not quite the 10 meters needed for advantage, so not staying bound will cost Quebec. They retreat 10 meters, and they're trying to get that ball back to the original mark. Wells, quick tap. So 2 mistakes in a row. Now McGrath. She's always good for a couple of meters before being brought to ground. Quick pass to the fly half, Parkinson. Now pick and drive by the captain, Giles. Ball bounces out but stays Atlantic side. Good tackles being put in by Quebec. Are they sealing that ball off? Might be, yes. And now McMaster having his first conversation, because there's been a few penalties handed out already, so I think he's having the team yellow conversation now. If I have one more infringement at the breakdown, one of you is going. We've had a lot of yellow cards this week for breakdowns at the or infringements at the breakdown. Oh, and that's a nice touch finder, or is it? No, it's not. Looked like it was going out, but Quebec kept it in play. So opportunity lost for Atlantic to have a nice line out down in Quebec territory. The best they can hope for is a spilled ball by Quebec at this point, maybe a scrum. Titley, quick pass inside, and that's the one I was talking about. McGrath immediately bowling over a would-be Quebec tackler, and they're on the front foot inside the 22 of Quebec. Trying to get down the line, that's Cantwell. She's brought to ground. They're trying to keep that ball Atlantic side, but it's been stolen. Titley is just going to punch it. Oh, no, that's the fullback for Quebec, punching it up the middle, Irene Petrinos. And so penalty coming back, and boy, Quebec is going to be in some penalty trouble soon. That was an offside. Tap by Wells. Offload to the number 8, Gillis. Now, tight pass down the line. Drop ball. Goes back. Ball's out now. Anyone can grab it. Who's gotten there first? And now it's a penalty. Hands in the ruck is technically the call there. Even though it looked like it was out, the ruck was still in play. So Quebec scrambling to deal with this feisty Atlantic team. And they'll want to calm things down, just kick this into touch. But they got a fine touch. I don't think they are. Oh, it just squeaks into touch. So they're going to have the line out still inside their own half. And really, I don't know that Quebec has gotten beyond halfway so far in this game, which is quite surprising based on how well they played earlier in this tournament. So good on Atlantic for what they're pulling off in the early going. So, good group of family and friends watching this game here this morning. Great way to spend a Sunday morning. Next up, we'll have the game that plays for the championship, BC versus Ontario. BC in with a slight chance. A lot of things have got to go in their favor. Ontario in the driver's seat for the championship this year. So we see a nice steep backline, but drop ball betraying the intentions of Atlantic. And so it'll be a scrum to Quebec. Just to let you know, Justine is cheering for Quebec. She hasn't been doing it lustily, so she's not screaming and everything, but she's trying to favor Quebec with every shot. I can see the bias there. That ball is in cleanly, coming out to the number 8, Keller. Kathleen Keller doing well. Now the offload. That's more like it for Quebec. Now they're turning on the... Oh, and a drop ball. No one touched her, and she just lost the handle. Dry conditions. So that's got to be frustrating for Quebec. They're making a big 30-meter run, and then someone does a ghost yank on that ball. Down it goes. So Atlantic, scrambling to cover back on that run, will breathe a sigh of relief with this scrum and see if we can't get Kate Parkinson to just give it a nudge down the park with her right foot. Great to be back at Twin Elm this week, where I played my formative rugby for years and years. Not very memorable rugby for most people, as we have the counterattack on now for Quebec. That's the fullback, Petrinos. That ball's out. Advantage being played. Quebec with a free one. They should do something with it. Oh, now that's a nice run by the flanker, McKean. Advantage still on. They got to get a few more meters, and then advantage will be realized. So good job by McMaster to give Quebec a chance. Now advantage will be over at this point. And a pass inside, nearly the release pass, but cover D coming across to shut that door. Now another advantage. This one for a knock-on, it looks like. Well, no, it couldn't be a knock-on because Quebec had possession the whole time. So playing a second advantage. And now it'll be a penalty. And is it trouble for Atlantic now? They haven't had their first speech with McMaster, so you'll think that Giles, the captain, will nod understandingly and say, of course, sir, that's what we're trying to do too, and we're all here to have a clean, open game. So Giles will tell her girls that we need to just stop infringing at the breakdown. So 5-0 right now, the score for Atlantic. Quebec wisely taking some points to open their scoring account here this morning. Titley's a pretty good kicker. This one well within her wheelhouse. Just over the 22-meter line, slightly to the right. No wind to speak of. Very calm this morning. It'd be a great day to throw the frisbee around with a dog. Well struck ball. Flags are up, and that is 3 points to Quebec. So now we have a ball game.
Penalty kick is good. Scored by number 10, Jackie Titley.
Marty Taylor, the assistant referee on one side, and Nathan Abdelnauer on the other side. Haven't been giving Marty the love. I don't know him by sight so much. And one of the referees said, "Hey, he thinks you don't know him and don't like him." I said, "Oh no, like him fine. Just don't know him to see him." As Atlantic now drop ball from that first pass, but coming back for the advantage. Not releasing the tackled player against Quebec. Quick tap by Wells. Passes to the right to number 8, Steph Gillis. Pick and drive by the flanker, Tanisha Campbell. When she gets the ball in hand, she is dangerous. Now, big break by the outside center. It'll be another try for Atlantic. No, just short. I called it too early. Isabel Dilger. Just about to the line. Now they've got numbers out wide. One more ought to do it. Oh, and why didn't she just pin her ears back? But the support play there, but the cover defense even more there. Thought for sure that Amanda Jardine would just cut for the corner, and now penalty, taking that opportunity away. Jardine, all she had to do was back her speed and go to the corner, and she would have scored. And it's very easy to make those comments up here under the shade, not in a hot day and with no speed. But that is my belief. She would have scored. So Titley will give this ball a kick down the park. So Quebec with the throw in, but they're still in a bit of a jackpot inside their own half here as Allison McCormack will throw that in. Oh, and hacking through on that, putting some pressure on Quebec. The knock on, and so the first knock on was by Atlantic trying to get to that ball. The flanker on the blind side, Jory Rose, going hunting for that ball. She knocked it on, so Quebec then knocked it on, so it'll be advantage Quebec here on this put in. Big drive on by Atlantic, putting the Quebec team under pressure. They're trying to maybe simplify things a little, the pick and drive, and just keep the ball in close. Clearance kick buys them a little bit of relief. That's what the teams are playing for, the NWL trophy. Sitting down there on the plinth. Bet you don't know that's what you call something that a trophy sits on. Not a word that comes into play every day. The plinth. You can't just put it on a piece of furniture. Kinsman, not a clean throw. McMaster satisfied that it was straight and just untidy. Step inside, drop ball by the fly half, Parkinson. Quebec with a chance. They're not going to do much with it. And so McMaster will bring it back to the first knock on, and it'll be scrum. So despite very dry conditions, a lot of drop balls early in this game, as we're 23 minutes into this first half. Atlantic clinging to a slim 5-3 lead here, but playing, announcers in rugby say this, teams playing more rugby. Well, I think that can be a claim asserted for Atlantic. They've been just constantly keep Quebec under pressure and playing in the Quebec end, so they have played more of the rugby, as it were. Picked up by number 8, Kathleen Keller. Oh, and Titley's lost the handle, and now she's just going to do a scramble kick that will allow a counter-attack opportunity over on that wing with Anna McBride. Sorry, that's Jardine over on that side. Finally got to it, but now Quebec has it. Spin pass down the line. They got some numbers outside if they recognize it. Now they've got a chance. Bit of an overlap. There's Quebec on the front foot now. Inside, outside. Now should have offloaded maybe before the tackle, but lots of blue shirts in place there. Ruck is formed, so Atlantic's got to be careful not to go offside. Great link up, and now that is the hooker, Allison McCormack, and she will score. And great job by the front row player, Allison McCormack. And that has ignited this Quebec-friendly crowd here. That was really all created by a great pass and link up with Megan Copeland-Dinnan, wearing the number 7. So now Quebec feeling more in the groove here with an 8-5 lead and the kick to come. So Atlantic was keeping them hemmed in, and then finally the overlap was realized, and it was a great break by Anita Martinego, who she just saw the gap and went for it. And she knew she had support and maybe should have released that pass a little sooner, but there were 3 blue shirts right there to form the ruck and force Atlantic to come in onside and come on the other side of that ruck, and that was the time they needed to get that ball out, and that's when Megan Copeland-Dinnan did a great link-up to the hooker, Allison McCormack, for this great try to get the first try on the board for Quebec. Titley strikes that straight and true, make it 10-5. So Quebec may be feeling a little better about their lot in life after shaking off the cobwebs of a 2-day break, and has the Atlantic poked the bear, as it were. Will they have a problem now? Nice flat pass into the line. Half break there in the tackle. Kathleen Keller did well to get that out to her back line. That ball's in open field and nearly a clash of heads there. And can't shrink away from the contact. Anna McBride now. And linking up Erin Benzakine, the scrum half. She's there again. Quick service. The back row forwards acting as a unit. A little pod to attack. Now Titley gathers the one hopper in. Looking for her options as she's being tackled. Only options to go to ground and do a squeeze ball back behind her. As she's tackled, a pass get away. We have a Atlantic player down on the field, physiotherapist treating her. Play coming back. And cuts back inside. So Quebec running some interesting lines here. They want another try quick to really grab the game by the scruff of the neck. And here's another opportunity, and it's going to be a try. Oh, is it going to be a try? All right, she knocked it on. Andrew McMaster may look for some help from Marty Taylor as she leaned across. I think it was Benzakine, the scrum half. And he wants to know, did you see a knock on, or was that a clean touchdown? What do we got? Or was it a double movement potentially? No try. Knock on is the call. Just as she reached across, it was a bit of a lunge, and it was always going to be hard to believe that was a clean touch to the ground. Caitlin Blanchard, the second row for Atlantic, running back into position now. She was treated for a bit of an arm tweak. So now Atlantic with Herculean task of having a scrum in the shadows of their own posts and having to deal with it. Midfield is always tough because the clearance kickers don't always have the leg to get it out to the outer edges. So sometimes they'll pass in goal just to get themselves in a better position, have the outside center kick. But it's a dangerous game. If you knock that ball on, you're setting the table for that Quebec scrum to have a 5-meter scrum and maybe push you across. Just about the 30-minute mark of this game now. That's taken by number 8 for Atlantic, Steph Gillis. Now there's the clearance kicker we're talking about. So they wanted to take that one-up phase and sort of tie up the back row forwards for Quebec and then get that clearance kick. So not a bad way to deal with being in tight to your own try line, but gives Quebec a nice tidy platform 22 meters out. And these are the ones that you do at training. Say, all right, well, let's try this play and see how she goes. Allison McCormack, the earlier try scorer. Nice clean transfer. Oh, and Wells spots a big gap. Nobody home in the defensive structure for that line out. And that gets Quebec forward about another 12 meters very quickly. Wells looking for that ball. Has it been stolen? Possibly so. And Wells asking for an explanation, and that ball taken in and lost by Atlantic, or by Quebec rather, and so Atlantic will have the advantage on the scrum. I think Wells felt there might have been hands in the ruck, so we have a substitute coming on for Quebec. So number 23 for Quebec. Going on the field, Casey Thorburn in favor of the winger, Anna McBride. So something must have been bothering her. You don't usually come out of a game that early unless there's an issue. Now, penalty. Quebec will have to retreat. Pulling the scrum down, maybe. Oh, and that's a good first up run by the fly half, Parkinson. Cleaned up by Caitlin Blanchard. Quebec putting good pressure on Atlantic, driving them back with each touch of the ball now. Wells to Parkinson. Parkinson decides to put the boots to it, and that'll take an awkward bounce for Quebec to deal with. Doesn't go into touch, and now immediately tackled by the wing Anna McBride. By the wing Amanda Jardine. Atlantic getting that ball out of the scrum. Pass untidy. Results in a knock-on. So Quebec now with a big chance here. So, little reset here for Quebec. Members of the Ontario Storm showing up here pre-game. Check out the first game and get ready for their match at 11:30. Quebec with a quick tap by number 8, Kathleen Keller. She's done well to go about 10 meters. Now the offload. Is that Atlantic player sealing things off? Not yet. Camille Provencal-Aubé taking that ball cleanly. Now Titley, miss one. Outside pass now. Oh, and that's a link up. That's a great try for Quebec. Couldn't pick up the number of that player, unfortunately. We'll try and get it. So that brings the score to 15-5 as we nudge towards halftime. So hearing that it was Samantha Yost, the prop, scoring that try. 15. Oh, okay. So very much not the prop. Irene Petrinos, the fullback, scoring that one. So good bit of finishing work by her. She has been hungry all week looking for try-scoring opportunities and just running around the park into the line from her fullback spot. Titley now all lined up here. And That will not go through the posts. The score will stay 15-5.
Next try scored by number 15, Irene Petrino.
That's a high restart by Atlantic. Drop ball, knock on. Atlantic with a chance here. Advantage being played. Nothing coming. Scrum to Atlantic. They've really got to have the next response here after scoring the opening try. Try right now would put them right back in this game, but they've gone off the boil a little bit. Quebec getting their tails up after scoring a couple of good tries. And so now we're going to have a change by Atlantic, and it's going to probably be Rebecca Chapman. She's wearing a blank jersey, unfortunately, but we know what that means on the roster, that she is the one coming in. So she's just checked in with Amy Murray, and next chance they get, Chapman will be going on as a back replacement. We'll see who she's going to replace, as we're down to about 3 minutes left in the half. Nice deep back line by the Atlantic. They want to punch through that Quebec defense. Oh, and the pass to Nancy Nobody. And now knock on in a panic situation. And so Quebec putting on great pressure as that ball went to ground. They just came pouring through to punish that Atlantic mistake. So Atlantic's going to have to get their passing a little more precise. So we see Chapman go on the field. And we'll see. Now we've got the inside center, Andrea Cantwell, sort of clutching at her collarbone a little bit. Not feeling 100%. So that brings her day to a close. Crossing, says McMaster. So Quebec lose the opportunity. Now the ball messed with, and some people feeling that might have been a little cynical on behalf of Quebec to delay the game and maybe looking for a few extra meters from McMaster, but none coming. Touch not found. Counterattack on by 23 Casey Thorburn, who came on in relief in the Quebec side. Titley, great hands, and then she puts the boot to it. The fullback for Atlantic is back there in Beasley. She scored Atlantic's only try. Very mobile back three player. So I think Atlantic has got to get back to what they were doing in the first 20 minutes of this game, which was just run, and, the short meter contact off the breakdowns, and this is more like it by the Atlantic. They're at midway. Advantage being played by McMaster. So now Chapman, first touch, she drops that ball. But that's okay. They're going to come back to the penalty. And now Quebec could be in card trouble. McMaster going to his pocket. Yeah, so the Quebec player will sprint to the sideline to get the clock started on her 10-minute penalty. So that's the outside center, Fabiola Fortiza. She scored 5 tries in this tournament, so you don't want her off the field because she's a very useful player. So yellow card, that will carry over in the opening minutes of the second half for probably about 6 or 7 minutes. Now another penalty. So what can Atlantic do with this player advantage here? I agree with their decision to run with this ball when you got the advantage. McGrath trying to make things happen. She is a very destructive force in the front row. Link up by Parkinson. Now they're just a couple of meters out. Boy, if they could score a try just before halftime, but Quebec has stolen this ball, and they'll look to just clear their lines and maybe get it to touch and hope that it's halftime. Atlantic hand got on it. So it'll be Quebec throw in. Now we have a blue player down. So I didn't pick up what it was that the yellow card was for, but I'll find out at halftime and report back to you. But Fabiola Fortiza, just a try-scoring juggernaut on this Equipe Quebec team. And it's Waters coming out on the field. So I think when we get things underway again, we'll probably be down to the last play of this first half. And we'll take a quick break and water the horses and everything and get ready for a great second half of action as it's only 15-5 here. And boy, if Atlantic can pull something off here, even though Quebec will have the put in here, I think, on the scrum when we get back to action. Atlantic's done some good things to disrupt as the Quebec player stays in. My guess is the yellow will be for repeated infringements, as those usually tend to be what they're for, nothing egregious. Just, you got to punish a team that won't listen to the referee in terms of slowing the game down around the edges. That won't find touch, so final chance. Did that go forward? No, it went back. Atlantic with a chance here to still finish this half off strongly. Remember, they got the overlap in the back line. McGrath trying to get it done by herself. She might lose that ball in contact. She has. She got stripped of the ball. I've seen Quebec a couple of times have a yellow card and score tries. So still some time left on the clock, according to McMaster. Clean put in by the Atlantic. Parkinson to Chapman. Looping nicely now to Wells. Wells waiting, delayed pass, and that goes to ground. Kicked through by Quebec. Bit of a foot race going on here. And now shoulder-to-shoulder contact, but nothing wrong with that. And that is a great job by the replacement, Casey Thorburn, to get the ball. Will Quebec have the last say in this first half, despite being down a player? Audrey Marcotte now going into contact. First step inside by Rebecca McKean. Benzakine, drop ball, went back. Atlantic eager to tie that ball up and get it back, and maybe now they want to kick it into touch. Missed pass, it's gone loose. Went back. McMaster, a good judge of keeping that ball alive to make sense of not every drop ball is a knock on. Depends what team you're on. Oh, and some great passing, but equally good defensive structure by Atlantic. Oh, and the fend off by the flanker Megan Copeland-Dinnan on fly half Kate Parkinson. Now that's a big kick. Who's going to get that? The bouncing ball, and Quebec's gotten to it. And the offload and the knock on to the try scorer earlier, hooker Allison McCormick. And that is it for the first half. Quebec with a slender 15-5 lead. Great job by both teams. And we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with you in about 6 or 7 minutes to bring you second half action. You're watching NWL Championship Rugby on NWLRugby.com. We'll be back in a bit. And welcome back to Twin Elm Rugby Park, where we are at halftime, about to come back to second half action as Quebec leads the Atlantic 15-5. We'd like to thank our sponsors, DHL, Gowling's Law Firm, the Government of Canada for all their support, Under Armour, as well as CN, Enterprise Canada Public Relations, Marsh Insurance, and Merit Travel. So now we see the Atlantic team coming onto the field. Quebec's been out doing a little jazzercise on the field, staying warm and enjoying the tunes being pumped out by DJ Jazzy Jen, who's doing a good job. She's got one of the best playlists in the business. So we have the referee on the field. He's the last piece of the puzzle. McMaster will get this underway. And good pressure. Oh, and a Quebec player just mowed down on that kickoff. She didn't even have the ball, and now Atlantic with the advantage. We've had a change with the front row for the Atlantic, and that's Ellen Murphy on the field. So Atlantic maybe wanting to increase the size. Now they got McGrath and Murphy out there. Now coming back for the offside penalty. So long advantage being played. As soon as Atlantic lost possession, it was on in terms of penalty. Quick tap by Wells. Oh, and McGrath just powering through. And just what I was talking about. They decided to up the physical quotient and punish this Quebec team a little bit. They are rolling well with the ball in the early going here. They had a bit of a drive going as Chapman gets it out to Beasley, the lone try scorer for the Atlantic. Quebec tacklers tying up the Atlantic ball carrier. Just one game to go after this one. BC will play Ontario for all the marbles. A lot has to happen for BC to win that in terms of winning the championship. Spin pass going right. Quebec trying to organize a bit of a drive, get that ball out of their half. Titley set up maybe for a kick. Yes, she'll try and clear lines, but she has kicked it to the winger who's knocked it on over on that side, Shelby Vining. So even though the touch flag is up, we'll take the knock on that side. So that was probably the right place to put that kick in terms of Titley because she was outside her 22. So anything that went directly into touch would have come back from the point of the kick. We have another change coming on for Atlantic. Chelsea McGuire has just come on. We'll see. I think it's Megan Kinsman, the hooker, that maybe is coming off the pitch. Tell you in a second. Don't forget Quebec is still playing shorthanded as they have a yellow card on outside center Fabiola Fortiza, who's now warming up. I didn't think she could leave the area as much as she has. There's a technical zone where you're supposed to just stand there and do jumping jacks and push-ups and that, but she's gone for a good 30-meter jog. Oh, and big tackle midfield by Chapman. So that is number 13, Isabel Dilger's come off for Atlantic. Now a bit of a run here by Quebec. Oh, nice piece of running. Now that's Titley, the fly half. She'll score. Jackie Titley for the Quebec try to increase the Quebec lead to 20. So 20-5 the score as Titley finished off a strong run up the middle by Quebec. So the wind going out of the Atlantic sails a little bit with that one. Titley will try and convert her own try here. Pretty makeable shot for her. Well struck, but it might have gone right. Yeah, flags stay down.
Quebec try by number 10, Jackie Titley.
So Titley on for 10 points so far of the 20 on the field. Allison McCormack and Irene Petrinos getting the other tries. The Atlantic will restart this. Goes right to the hooker, Megan Kinsman. Sorry, I'm getting those mixed up. Allison McCormack. Kathleen Keller does well. Benzakine, quick offload now. Oh, and that's gone to ground. Cleaned up by Titley, but she's wrapped up by a trio of Atlantic tacklers. They're trying to counter ruck ball, staying Quebec side. No options there but to go to ground. Benzakine now. Loose pass. Picked up by the winger, Aaron Van Gulik. But Atlantic resolute in the defense. Has a bit of a chink in the armor there. Now trying to spread the ball a little bit. That second row, Camille Provencal-Aubé. And now replacement 22, Bianca Della Porta, trying to make something happen midfield. So Atlantic putting in the big tackles, and And really, Quebec has not been able to get past halfway. Now they're starting to find a few gaps out wide. The pick and drive gets them a meter. Oh, and maybe an offside. They're coming in through the side. No, not rolling away at the breakdown. So trying to steal that ball off. Now a kick to touch by Quebec. So they'll be glad to be getting down into that territory. So opportunity lost for Quebec. They're not straight. Scrum in 15 for Atlantic. Nice sunny day here at Twin Elm. People taking in this game and probably the next game as well. BC and Ontario coming up at 11:30 Eastern. Clearance kick doesn't find touch. Nicely gathered in by the wing over there on that side. I want to say it was Jardine for Quebec. Sorry, that is Van Gulik. Knock on by both sides. So things just a little disjointed here in the first 10 minutes or so of this game. No one really, big smoking tackle by the replacement front rower, Alan Murphy. And she makes her presence felt. And maybe that's just part of the Atlantic plan, is to grind this Quebec team down with the physical contact point. Now, that's the prop for Quebec. Audrey Marcotte. Very mobile front rower. But now this is going to possibly be a try. It will be a try for Bianca Della Porta of Quebec. So Quebec keeps the scoring machine alive. Moving up to 25, and the yellow card is over, I believe, as we have some changes. So yeah, they're back to full strength. So score 25-5, and it'll be Irene Petrinos to take this kick. Big round of applause for the try scoring hooker, Allison McCormick, as she goes off the field. Number 16, Jasmine Ackerman's on the field now for Quebec. Oh, it's a good-looking kick, but it's going to go just short. It was on target, needed a bit more leg. Restart by Atlantic. Oh, and nearly a collision there as the Quebec player tried to come in, field that. That's the new replacement, Jasmine Ackerman's. So Atlantic with the advantage, and that's Murphy. Called her number a few times already since she's come on in the second half. Parkinson. The link up to the fullback for Atlantic, Beasley. Advantage being played for Atlantic. Quebec player receiving treatment, so technically Atlantic with a player advantage right now. Look at Murphy go again, reminiscent of Rosie Lang of BC, who scored 2 big tries yesterday. His play getting close to that injured player, and McMaster may have to blow things up here in order to protect the player. If this pack goes to the right now, they'll stay left, and that is Giles, the captain. So now we're coming back. That was a long advantage and looked like they'd gone at least 10 meters, but maybe it was just 9, so they'll bring it back. Chapman links back, but is immediately hit before she can cleanly get that ball away. Murphy throwing her body on the line again. So you know what her whole attitude is. Let's punish anyone who's trying to tackle me. The fend off by Beasley. Waiting for help. That ball's come back now. Wells chipping over the top. She's tied up a little bit, but not enough to warrant a penalty. Clearance kick down the field. It will find touch as the Atlantic winger Vining tried to come back and clean that up. It rolled into touch. So that was a great clearance kick by Quebec to relieve some pressure. So now we'll have number 20 for Quebec coming on shortly. Number 19 going on as well. So I'll tell you who that is in a second. That's Ashley Strike. So Alexis Gruel is number 20. Number 19 is Miriam Desorti. And tell you who's coming off. For them, a very banged up looking second row. Look at, that's their annual tape budget on that girl's arm and leg. So that is Titley, the fly half, off the field. And number 16, I want to say. It is the replacement for Quebec, Jasmine Ackerman, so she's off already. So credit to Atlantic. They're still challenging this Quebec team, just not showing on the scoreboard. Beasley, she's dropped that ball. Advantage to Quebec. What can they do with this free one? Oh, that's cleanly taken by Camille Provencal-Opé. Advantage over, and a penalty now against not releasing the tackled player. Or not releasing the ball, probably, yeah. And that's Murphy again. So we have an Atlantic player down on the field requiring treatment. A pick and drive by Atlantic. They're down a player, but they may not even know it. Chapman into the line. Now the Atlantic regathering. They may notice that they're down a back, I think. And now second Atlantic player is slow to get up. So time off now as McMaster comes to consult the injured player, and we may have stretcher requirements maybe. No, the player's getting up now under her own steam, but I think her day is done based on how gingerly she's walking off the field. So number 20 coming on the field for Atlantic, and that's Jill Green. I'm telling you, this is coming off the pitch right now. And that is your hooker, Megan Kinsman. So that's a big loss for the Atlantic. Very capable player in the forwards. So an indirect penalty against Quebec. They're boring in early. Murphy just pounding through again, and she is a treat to watch. Physical rugby player for Atlantic. And there she is again, just punishing anyone who wants to try and bring her down. She's about 6 foot, and not sure what she's packing, but she's a lot to bring down. Chapman linking up. Now Atlantic really on the front foot here as we see Vining get wrapped up. But lots of support, lots of black jerseys there. Wells to her second row, Abby Goodwin. Stall pass out to Murphy from the fly half Parkinson. Parkinson again linking up. Now Chapman looking, spinning, and then delivers a pass to her right. And Parkinson again. So lots of nice crisp passes by the fly half for Atlantic, and now it's a penalty. Not releasing the tackled player. Quick ball. And a huge tackle put on Beasley, who is running into the line. Murphy lowers her shoulder yet again. Carries a couple of tacklers with her. She's brought to ground. So good stuff here by Atlantic in the second half. If they get a try here, that could change the complexion of the game. And now it's going to be another yellow card, I think, for Quebec. I think they're infringing a lot at the breakdown, and yeah, he's gone to his pocket. And who's going this time? So second yellow card for Quebec, so they've got to be frustrated that they're going to play shorthanded for another 10-minute period. So Quebec with the yellow card as Murphy flings that ball out to Mary Giles, the captain. And that is a flanker for Quebec. Megan Copeland-Dinnan. So that's a big loss for them for 10 minutes. That ball goes to ground. Didn't go forward. But Quebec's coming away with it, I think. Oh, no. Nicely done to secure that ball by Atlantic. And advantage being played. That Quebec player came in from the side. The ball wasn't out. And now it's another penalty. The argument could be made for a second yellow after, you know, he just penalized Quebec a minute ago with the yellow card. Chapman, she's the one with the blank jersey. She's gone to ground. Now, Parkinson, no-look pass, goes to ground. Murphy couldn't get to it. Quebec now coming away with it. Oh, and that's a big break by Quebec. Who's going to wrap this girl up? Oh, and a fend-off of all fend-offs. Now support arriving in numbers for Quebec. So Atlantic spent too much time in the Quebec end based on the reaction by Quebec. They're happy to get out of there. And now that'll be Erin Van Gulik. She's trying to get that ball back. Casey Thorburn now for Quebec. Nice pickup by the outside center, Fortiza. She had the yellow card earlier, so she might be a little bit fresher. Bianca Della Porta now. She scored a try as a replacement. Van Gulik looks, offloads to the prop Marcotte. And good clear out rucking. Benzakine. Oh, and that's a big break. And that's going to be a try for Quebec, number 16. No, it's not 16, probably 18. No. Felt like it was 18, but it doesn't match up with the roster that I got. So I'll tell you who that try was in a moment. Here, and it's Murphy. Okay, so. Oh, no, there's no Murphy on the Quebec team there, so. Oh, no try. Oh, I thought for sure they got a try there, but they didn't. Okay. So, crediting Quebec with a try that they didn't score. So that's interesting turn of events. So now Atlantic, 5 meters up from their own line, have got to be careful with the ball, but buy some space and time and pressure relief here. Wells kicking that down the park. Counterattack by Quebec now. Going down that left wing. Very effective running. Inside the Atlantic 22 now. Oh, drop ball by Quebec as they were organizing an attack. So Atlantic will have the scrum. Going to reset that scrum. That's a look at the sin bin player for Quebec, Megan Copeland-Dinnan, as she serves her sentence. Hoping that her absence won't result in a try or any points being leaked. You can tell she's frustrated. Scrum going backwards, but Atlantic with clean ball there. Now a penalty. Quebec leaving their feet at the breakdown, sealing that ball off. Got an Atlantic player down, but she'll get back up as her team is on the front foot. Bit of an overlap organized here. Time for Atlantic to turn the Jets on. Oh, and just as the tackle was being made on looked like it was Chapman, or no, number 22, Holly Jones for the Atlantic. Tackle by Thorburn just shook that ball loose and into touch. So now we have Loveline Vuffo coming on into the second row. She'll replace the flanker. Jory Rose is on the other team. That's Rebecca McKean. So actually, Vuffo, not a second row player. She's a back row player. She was a missed target in there, but the ball stayed Quebec side. Now to midfield. Quebec working well down that far wing. Bit of a bobbled ball, though, and it goes into touch, so it'll be Atlantic throw-in. Or will it be a knock-on before that? No, I think we'll be going for the line-out. So 23 minutes gone in this second half. And probably about 4 minutes to go for this player before she can get back on the field. Have a Quebec player down on the far sideline. So that's the trophy that BC and Ontario will be contesting in the next match at 11:30 Eastern. The NWL trophy right there. I'm more amazed that no one has come piling out of bounds and knocked it flying in the air, but it's about good 7 to 10 meters back. So now that I've said that, let's watch the hardware fly in the next few minutes. Put the kiss of death on it. Great competition for these women. People saying, well, it's just provincial rugby. Well, it's the next level as we see number 21 for Quebec coming on the field, Ashley Strike. They call her Striker. I would love to have a name like Strike. You just couldn't go wrong in life with, you'd have the great nickname, the Striker. Striker's here. Play baseball, Striker out. But back to the point that NWL Rugby is a great platform to the national team. So much so that Ontario has lost their captain, Cindy Nellis, who is off to France as a replacement for injured Barbara Mervin at the Women's World Cup in Paris. So Striker getting first touch of the ball there as she comes on the field. And maybe an injection of fresh legs will help the Quebec attack. Not that they need help. They're up by 25-5, but maybe missing a few opportunities. Atlantic trying to get that ball counter-rucked nicely. Nothing wrong with that. You got to have more players than they do if you want to take that ball. And it was a mismatch. Now, a break through the line. That's Vining. Van Gulik. And Van Gulik will take it all the way to the line. Great piece of individual running by Aaron Van Gulik. So that nudges the scoreboard up to 30. And that's a short-handed Quebec team that's scoring that try. So now we'll have fullback Irene Petrino's hit for the extras here. So McGrath is off the field for Atlantic, but she may be called back into service as we have, yes, she is going to go back on the field as a front row player. They're allowed to come back on when there's no one else available, and that kick is gone to the left. She'll replace the captain, Mary Giles, number 3. The restart by Atlantic and goes right into the arms of number 23, Christine Lovett, but not before knock on. Now it's gone Quebec side. Atlantic defense well organized, not leaving anyone short-handed. McGrath has been pressed back into service. Right at it, tying up that Quebec player. So the Atlantic replacements bench pretty much empty. I think one player left. As we see, the yellow card is over. That will see the flanker, Copeland Dinnan, back on the field. So equal strength, 15 on 15. Quebec scoring while short-handed. So what are they going to do when they're even-handed? Pick from the back of the scrum by number 8, Kathleen Keller. Bit of an awkward pass to get things going here. And first up tackles being made by the fly half from Atlantic, Parkinson. Now a half break by Quebec there. Now really putting the pressure onto the Atlantic as numbers pouring through there, eager to get to that ball. Oh, and look at that's a nice break and a nice pass. That's Van Gulik for her second try this half. Erin Van Gulik igniting this team late in the match. So the score 35-5. So we're getting down to the last 10 minutes of this game. Actually, we may have to, if we're scheduling our next start for 11:30, we're 11 o'clock Eastern now, so we may have to abridge things here just a little bit to hit those targets. Plus, there's a very real aspect of everyone having to catch a plane to get home, except for Ontario. And maybe Quebec would be driving, but the Prairies and Atlantic and BC all have dates at the airport in order to get home. This is a very tough kick for Petrinos. She's struggled this afternoon and hit that well, but that'll be short. So it was just long kicks, not a favorite for Petrinos. Fans appreciating that. And they replaced the player from the sin bin back on the field, Megan Copeland-Dinnan, immediately touching the ball there. So Quebec's done everything they can do in order to secure second place. They've got a bonus point victory under their belt here, but it really comes down to what happens with British Columbia and Ontario. Flat pass with Judge forward. So the way things are shaping up right now for Ontario to win, there's about 4 different ways that they can win the tournament without actually having to win the game. Well, let's explain them. They could get a bonus point loss, losing by less than 7. They could get 4 tries in their loss and win the tournament. So they just really need 1 point. They win outright. They win outright. BC has got to get a bonus point victory, 5-pointer, to tie Ontario. And then it comes down to points for and against. And so then it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So if BC won, but not with a bonus point, then it would still be a Ontario championship. So now we have a flag out by Nathan Abdelnauer, and he's consulting with McMaster. And so is Quebec going to be in card trouble for a 3rd time this afternoon? Usually when 2 players are being called out, it's never good. Principal wants to see you. He's going to call your parents. No, they're going to stay in the game. So that was a warning against Alexis Gruel. So penalty here for Atlantic. And I think the game within a game for Atlantic now is the score of 2nd try. Build off of that in the final 6 minutes of this game. That's not going to find touch. There'll be a counterattack now. Oh, some aggressive rucking there by Atlantic, and they've stolen that ball. Well, the ball was taken into contact and tied up by Atlantic, and they will have the scrum now. So that scrum's got to get steady before Wells will put it in. Now that's been stolen against the head by Quebec. Some remarkable running taking place over in that wing, and that's by 20, Jill Green. Sorry, I've done that again. That's Alexis Gruel, who's just warned by McMaster. Drop ball. So not much humidity to speak of, about 23 degrees. It'll probably get up to about 25 or 26, just ideal conditions for some summer rugby here. Nice little breeze cooling everyone off here in the grandstand. That's an indirect penalty to Quebec. Atlantic not lining up into that scrum properly. Copeland-Dinnan linking well in traffic. Copeland-Dinnan again. Oh, and immediately hit. Just a huge smothering tackle by the second row, Abby Goodwin. And she makes another one, so she is on a mission to knock down blue shirts this afternoon. Now kick over the top. Atlantic there to receive it. No look pass by the wing there. Jardine. Now kick over the top will go out on the full. And so Nathan Ablenauer has marked it back from the point of the kick. So we'll be down to our last couple of minutes of this game. So doing the throwing for Quebec now is 24, Kristen Edwards. And her jumper was hanging up there for an eternity. Atlantic finally got to it as the ball came in. Some quick passing. Christine Lovett getting it out to the wing now. And Quebec just drawing that ball carrier in to hopefully strip them of the ball. Flat pass goes to ground. Things getting a little sloppy on Atlantic side, I think, as the fatigue sets in. Now penalty, not rolling away in the tackle. Quebec retreating. Atlantic giving it to McGrath. She is a wrecking ball when she has the ball in hand. Drop ball. So yeah, you can just see those are the fatigue moments, and they'll come back for the scrum. So at the conclusion of this game, we'll take a quick break and reset and get ready for the final match of this NWL week. Scheduled to start for around 11:30. We'll be back on the air around 11:20, 11:25. Start to stream around 11:20 and then start talking to you around 11:25 over the 22-meter line now. Good counter-rucking. Look at the way Atlantic still interested in playing the physical game. And now penalty against Quebec sees them retreat. McGrath, ball on her hip, but she does well to go in to the Quebec line. Straight hands down the line. They've got an overlap there. Atlantic, they time it right. No, and probably should have passed. That was Beasley. She had players outside her. And I think if she had released one of them, it would have had a good result, but now another penalty. McMaster coming back. And now we're going to have a yellow card to finish this game for Quebec. I think we are. What's he got in his hand? Oh, he hasn't gone to his pocket. He's just explaining facts of life. I don't want to send anyone off last game, so knock it off. Thank you very much, Captain Benzakine. Not back 10. McGrath loves the contact. You can see why. She makes something happen every time she runs into the line. Atlantic organizing this now. It's Murphy. We've called her name. Between McGrath and Murphy, there's going to be a lot of sore Quebec bodies. And we have Atlantic players all over the ground. They have been paying the price for all this contact. And now, stolen ball by Quebec inside Atlantic half. Those Atlantic players are tired and having trouble getting back to defend. And there could be an overlap that is undefendable. And that is the case. I want to say that's Gruel over on that side, maybe number 20. So that'll probably be last points of this game. So great individual running after the ball got stolen around the 10-meter line of Atlantic from center. And then that ball just went down the line to the wing, and Gruel, I want to say, is the one that finished it off. Well struck ball. Flags go up, and that's Petrinos. And that is full time. Your final score, 42-5 for Quebec. So that will do it for Quebec's campaign. No repeat, but they could finish in second depending on how this next game goes.
And the score at full time is Atlantic 5, Quebec 42.
We'll see the two teams shake hands here, led by Lisa McGrath. And we'll say so long from Twin Elm Rugby Park for just a few minutes while we reset and get you ready for your next game as BC takes on Ontario at 11:30 Eastern. Back on the air about 11:20. Thanks for watching, and back in a bit.